What's going on, everybody? It's Master Wen. Welcome back. This is been a while since I posted because we have not got the cross yet with the 333 and the 666. Until we get the blue to cross the white, it is not the beginning of the end of the bear market yet. So the true accumulation doesn't really happen yet, but you can still accumulate during this time. This is one of the better times to accumulate, but it gets even better once you get the cross. Going back to the current model that we run off of here, which is a 666, the white moving average. It's a simple moving average and a 333 moving average. When you get these crossed, this is the beginning of the end of the bear market. Then you start accumulating more aggressively. It's not like you can't start accumulating during these times here. It just doesn't make what it is that I bring to you guys on the table, which is mastering the when, right? The when part is the timing, which is the 333 crossing the 666. Do you really need the 333? No, you don't. You don't really need it. It's just one of those things to where your preference is more precise, then you do the cross. But if you don't want to be precise and you want to just cruise your way through it, you can ride it by accumulation below the 666 and distribution above the 666. Slowly do it. So once a price action crosses above the 666, you start distributing it into the market. You start getting more aggressive once distribution. Now, for in the case of distribution, once you cross all-time highs, all right. So once it crosses, breaks out of this is when you start distributing it more aggressively. That's how it is. And once it comes below it again, coming back to retest this previous resistances, that's when you would start to accumulate more aggressively again. Except it gets even better when you use the 333. That's about it. Does it get, is it going to be precise? History says yes, it's pretty good. So those are the deals. This is why we don't need to really dig into what's really happening at this point until we get the cross. So if you were accumulating at these points, you are in profits. Could you have traded this? Yes, you could have traded this, right? Did I make any trades on this? I made mostly shorts on these than currently longing at this point because, I would rather long it once we start getting the momentum to the downside with the 333. Then we can start to see the bottoming formations and everything like that. And there's a lot more to it, right? There's a lot more to it. Like I said, there's so much more. I'm putting together much more of a in-depth way in how to actually invest using this model and way to actually trade using this model because you can use a these two moving averages and actually trade this on a 1 hour time frame. You can actually do that trading a 1 hour time frame using the beginning of the end cross, the beginning of the end, the breakout below, and so this actually helps 1 hour. Except you might have to be a bit more patient. If you're looking for slower, quicker trades, you might want to be on the 1 minute time frame. If you got a 1 minute time frame, you can start scalping these the same way. You got to follow the rules though. Beginning to the end, it means that you should not be looking to short it all that aggressively anymore once it starts getting this cross to the downside. You should not. You should start looking for, certain patterns that will what do you call it, double bottom formations, anything like that that you're looking for, or divergences that would come along with these crosses here. Okay, and that's it. Is it supposed to be easy? No, it's not. It's never going to be easy. Except it helps you know when you should slow down. It helps you know when you should decide to be more aggressive. All right. It's got a high hit rate. It doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. That's up to you on how to actually discipline yourself and master how to actually use this, because it's just two moving averages and these are completely free because I'm telling you what it is. So this is the outcome of this right now, that we don't have the cross yet. I just have to come on here and say that I'm still alive. Okay, I'm still alive, still here. Subscribe and put in a comment and to see what kind of questions you guys have about these. There is more that is involved in this. I am putting together more of the in-depth model like I was talking about to actually describe more in a future video, and I will put it into a format to where it would be a few step-by-steps to understand how to actually truly gear this up. And it's not gonna be free, all right? I'm saying that right now because nothing's ever free. If you can't afford it, it's just too bad, all right? Because that's just how it is. If you really want it, you're gonna get it. Okay, so the outcome of this cross right here that we're looking for is going to be near these targets here. I'm even giving you guys future targets that couldn't even possibly hit, because it likes to go back. Like I said, this is, if you watch my previous videos, like I said in my previous videos, that price action likes to go back to the scene of the crime. All right, and because you had crosses down here, does it mean it came back down to 7,000? Okay, did it mean that it was going to come back down to 7,000? It never did. Okay, not for this daily one here, but these ones here, it did come back previously times before to actually come back to the scene of the crime. This one never got hit with this 27,000. I don't think these levels here, right here, and even down here at this 7,000. All right, I don't think these levels here, because even then, these levels down below here really never got hit either. So this is why I'm saying that Bitcoin's got three times in history that it never went back to the scene of the crime that was down below. All right, it came back to the scene of the crime to actually hit these levels here at these previous crosses before. Here's a good one right here, to where it crossed here. It came through. Of course, this was COVID crash back in March of 2020. It came through here, but did it actually come back to get these crosses below here? See, this one is pretty much one of those anomalies here. So this phenomenon here doesn't mean it wasn't anything that was not going to be proven. It did come back, but there was no crosses here. But what it ended up doing was it actually did flip a time back I believe this was another government shutdown here that I remember. I did a video on this one too. So it did come back and close out that price. It did come back and retest that price. So, these are one of those things to where I'm saying that there was a government shutdown, and that was near the top of 126,000. I think that was what, in October, November, somewhere around this range, that we did have the government shutdown. So at some point, don't be surprised that if this thing comes up and actually hits these levels again, just like the COVID, and this is what I mean. I think at one point I remember talking about it. Oh, maybe not maybe not in my video, but I did talk about it at one point about how we could get some form of inverse COVID to come back and retest before it actually does a massive collapse. Just putting it out there, that is that possible? Yeah, at this point it could be possible based on certain economic conditions that could occur, right? And so just saying be prepared on both sides. All right, I'm not saying it's going to go to 7. I'm not saying it's going to go to 20. I'm not saying it's going to do anything like that. I'm saying that you want to consider the first scene of the crime, which is this range. Anywhere from 39 and below would be anything that you could see a massive red candle that's just like that, right? It doesn't mean it's going to be over. I'm just saying that it's just going to wake right back up and hit these levels right here around the 50,000 to 49,000, or even 42,000, 43. Okay, why am I saying that? Because we have a clear range right here, which is a structured range that was building for a very long time. Okay, right here, and that was all of 2024. These things don't just happen for no reason. These things happen for a very good reason. Okay, so this is what I'm saying. How much, and I said this before. If you watch the previous videos before, especially the very the long video, I think that was like what, 4 hours long, explaining how this 666 here actually predicts and actually lands the exact top and the exact bottoms. Okay, so until the 666 actually enters this range, which it takes time. It will take time for the 666 to enter this range. Once it enters that range, then you would have a structure that you can work with, and that's when we can start looking deeper into the ideas in the videos that I'm going over. All right, so I'm saying that watch this range here, because this range here is the same kind of structure that we seen before. Okay, and that is where I'm saying that it takes a lot. It will take a lot for this thing to actually come back down. Just look how long it was. That took a very long period, but it would have to require the momentum of the 333, which is half the momentum of the 666. All right, that's about a year, roughly about a year, for this thing to actually force the 666 come back down. And if it comes back down, these are the things I'm looking for. This sounds really simple. That's because it's supposed to be something like this, to where it's either going to tap it and then it will continue, whatever it's going to take to bring this down. By the time that crosses, you might see something like this. It might even be, I don't know what it's going to be exactly. This blue right here might even tap this middle range right here, and then it'll sweep back up. But based on that, based on what we used to see, it typically is one of these staircase patterns that are like this, and then one blow off bottom, or whatever, not a blow off top, but like a blow off like below, right, to the downside. And so these are the things that I'm talking about that is basically symmetrical to what it is that's happening on the upside. It's really no different either way you look at it. All right, there's a lot of other people that talk about the same ideas, that it's just going to be one of those things to where it's just going to repeat, but it's upside down. That's because it does it all the time. All right, good analysts, they see this. Really good analysts, they understand this. But that doesn't mean they can execute trades perfectly, right? It doesn't mean that. It's two different sets of skills. It's two different kind of trades, skill wise, right? And masteries. So you got to really understand that when it comes down to analyzing, this is what we're doing right now. Is the analysis of what we're actually seeing here is that we see a staircase formation here that is going to be, at some point you will see a drop, at one sharp one. And what is this similar to? I'm saying that a fractal of that is very similar to it, that we can use as an analogy of it is 2017. 2017 did not do a staircase formation very cleanly, but it literally did a long descending triangle formation that was holding a certain formation for long enough until this actually happened. But look how when it broke through, it took enough momentum to bring it down below the 666 and hold it down there long enough for this to break down. All right, it sounds really simple because you're just talking about lines crossing each other, but that's 333 days, man. That's a long time versus 666, right? And this cyclical wise, it is falling within the paradigms of how the cycle does, like what 2 years down, 3 years up, whatever the case it is. I don't really care about it. I just know that 100% of it is going to be accumulate below 666, distribute above the 666. That's why I said that you don't really need the 333. It's more just for precision. Okay, so if I was to turn this off, and just to be clear, if I was to really just turn this off, let me go to this. Okay, so I want to turn this off by going to the blue here. We'll just turn that off for now. Look, if you watch the other videos already, you will probably know exactly what I mean. Accumulate, accumulate, distribute, right? It's really that simple. Accumulate, and right now, what does it say? It says to accumulate. And that's why it's, if you've been accumulating, you're probably pretty happy already at this point that it's bounced off of these 60,000 to what, 50,000 here, not 60,000s, all the way back up to about $20,000 up. Most of you guys are pretty happy already if you guys were accumulating and DCAing along this way. That's why you follow these rules, okay? And it's going to repeat. So does it mean what happens if it comes up here? What if it actually breaks up above the 666? Start distributing. You're gonna waste your entire time of three, 4 months, or even a whole quarter of just holding on to nothing, right? Just holding on to nothing, and then you lose all that 3 months if you don't distribute. Okay, so you figure out a way to distribute it based on what it is you think that's actually going to be considered profit for your, for your trades or for your time or whatever the case is. Take something off the table, reward yourself for this, or make something off of it. You're going to get a chance to accumulate below it again. There's going to be another time and another chance to do it. Does it mean you sell everything? Of course not, right? You mean you just take something off the table, something, so that way that you're rewarding yourself and you're actually getting something off of this, because this takes time to build up, right? It's no rush. This is a marathon with the 666, all right? But it's a marathon where it's actually precision, all right? So that's my update on this. Okay, I'll go one more time with the 333 and the 666 with the crossing, and I wanted to just go over one more thing, which is we turn off this VPVR. Okay, we don't really need that. That's just for something I was testing with. All right, so the bigger part is on when you get these crosses, when you actually get the cross, all right, when you actually get the cross, the momentum needs to be maintained. Think of it like this: the exact way that this thing crossed back up to get momentum to bring the 333 up and the 666 up, all right? The kind of momentum it took was a pretty large momentum move. To make it simple, a measured move would be this site, this height, right? To keep it simple, right to the scene of the crime. We'll do that, okay? Not gonna make it perfect, but oh well. So once you get the cross like that, you would get a momentum move that is aggressive enough to come down to this 43 to 44,000 level, okay? And I'm not going to be shocked if we actually hit this 43,000. I'm saying, my targets before was looking at 43, 42.8, or even 45,000, maybe 47,000, anywhere within under 50,000 to 40, I'd say 45, or 43, anyway from 50,000 to 40,000, no, 43,000. Jesus Christ. Yeah, 43,000 is anywhere within this range. The beautiful part that I do notice from here from time to time is this. This is only something that I've noticed myself. Have I put this to test yet? Not quite, but I've noticed it in many times when I do my analysis. Is that when you have these structures that look like this, all right? I'll give this to you guys for free because it's not that hard to catch. Maybe for you guys, but not for me. All right, or maybe for most, but not for me. All right, so this is what I'm talking about here. Okay, previous structures that look like this. Structures that look like this. I'm saying that these structures that look like right when they break out and they do their momentum move up, there is a consolidation period that is really tight. Price action likes to come right to that level in the middle of this. Price action likes to come right into the level of the middle of this consolidation. I'm not saying this is the consolidation. I'm saying that when it breaks out of a cross to the upside, price likes to come back to those levels. That is where you would get the crash to return to. I don't know if there's any other indicators. Maybe VPVR might show like a point of control. Who knows, right? I don't know. All I know is that I don't really need to look at a million indicators. I just need to look at the pattern. And based on what I understand about the patterns from before, if I zoom in on this, it's a consolidation pattern after a large breakout. Momentum move to the upside. Clear momentum move like this that diverges these guys up, splits them up. In other words, expansion, right? And then it ends up in a really tight consolidation for X amount of time. I don't know how many days was this, right? Maybe about almost a month. That's what I'm talking about. So that's something that most won't know right away. But I promise, if it comes back, we will see this level. Okay, we will see this level, and it's going to be around 44,000 to 43,000. It's going to be around this level. It's not going to go below it. If it does go below it, it'll be very violent, very quick, wiping out every single position if it comes back to the scene of the crime like it's never done before. 3 times now in history, it's never come back to these levels like this. It has never done it. Okay, 3 times now. So based on when these lines actually came into fruition, right? Like actually printed, right? So they never came to the second scene of the crime, right? Well, this one did because it was within, I guess you could call this like a huge accumulation. So could it come back to this if this was an accumulation breakout like this, right? Could it actually do that and actually come back to 7,000? Leave your mind open and be prepared if it does. So that way you don't scare the shit out of yourself, right? That you don't scare yourself. And if you do it, if you pay attention like that, then that means that's where you buy your dip. That's where you grab as much as you can. Can you imagine how many people is going to scream and get rid of their Bitcoin or their crypto? What happens to Ethereum? What happens to Solana? What happens to every other, what happens to XRP? What happens to stable coins? What the hell happens to the entire ecosystem if that happens, right? They will be terrified. Everybody will start to drop everything, and they want to swap hands, right? They want to get rid of it. So that's exactly it. If that ends up happening, the recovery will be very quick. The recovery will be instantaneously. It will come back up swiftly, right back to this level at this 40,000. If it does come down here, that will be the opportunity that you would miss. So if I've heard plenty of times of how many people out there that are screaming right now about, if I would have bought Bitcoin. I would have bought Bitcoin. Like everybody would have, should have, could have that's talking about it is only in hindsight. They're screaming, but it's damn well that they weren't gonna. Otherwise they would have. So this is the chance that if you do get to see it come down to these points, which it's gonna be very rare. I don't think it's going to happen at all. But if you do see it happen, it might be because certain events that just come up that would trigger a massive cascade of liquidations at the same time, a mass wave of fear. Okay, that's just gonna wipe the entire markets out. All right, I'm not sure if the Nasdaq's gonna follow suit with that, which it probably would. But whatever the case is, I would set orders. I would just be prepared. That's it. I would be prepared. This isn't a time to be scared. It's a time to be accumulating. You're underneath the 666 accumulation. All right. You don't want to be chasing that this is going to go to the moon or be calling bull markets, because you're not even anywhere close to the end of the bear market yet. It could crash just as easy as it did in 2017 to actually finally drag that right through. See how fast that fell as soon as this momentum move came down? Look, there was a lot of people that called this was going to bounce. All right. A lot of people said they were called it. They were claiming it. All right. And it didn't really turn out that way, right? So I'm saying that if it's going to come back, it's going to come back to an area of accumulation like it did here in 2017 and here in 2022. So I'm looking for the area of accumulation to bottom out roughly around this area from 44 to 45, 43 to 44 to 45,000, anywhere between this first range right here. All right. So if I was to do it, I would set, let me be more precise so I can use this layout again the next time. All right. So I'm gonna say like this. Here, we'll get rid of this one. This is my call. All right, and I'm sticking to this. I got conviction in this one because these are structures. These are based on my analysis. So 43,769 to 49,000. This is going to be the level, and I'm pretty sure when it comes down, this is what it's going to end up doing. All right, these are just my thoughts. Doesn't mean it's going to end up doing that. I need to get. Where's the path? Okay, there it is. So if it does come up and hits this to get the cross. When it comes here, I don't think it's going to break right through it away. I think it's going to find its way here and actually bounce off of this and actually trade here within this range again to the lower level, to the mid range here, and hold this range and hold this level to resistance. And then we will see this have some sort of formation like this over time into Q4. So like October, November, and then we will see this ride over time like this. I think this is going to be something to where it would end up doing along the way. I'm just posting it up based on what it is in confluence of what we see here, in confluence of what we see here, in confluence of what we see here throughout history. I have no bias in this to say that I want Bitcoin to just shoot to the moon or whatever that it's going to do. It's going to be by perceived value, which is why we see markets being perceived the way that they are all the time, which is recover. 100% of the time markets recover, right? So here it is, boom, boom, right? So that's why I have the conviction to say that it's going to be around this level here, and you guys got it for free today. Thanks. Subscribe, post up whatever your thoughts are in the comments, and we'll see where this goes. I mean, let everybody else know what you see here. If you guys think that it's a good thing, share this video with other people that you guys know, so that way that nobody gets caught up in this, because our job here on this channel is to learn how to master that when part in the market. All right, peace out. Stay safe and don't FOMO. All right, see you guys later.